Hi everybody, it's Kay and I'm back today to give you a really quick tutorial on how I went about making this mini album. This is a recent DT project for Authentique. I've used their wonderful Mr. collection, which is a masculine themed collection. For me, these kinds of collections are awesome because I am the only woman in my family. So I'm surrounded by men or boys as my son, my husband, my dog. So these kinds of collections really work well for me. So this project I call a dimensional star album. And I've seen pictures of many star albums in Pinterest and YouTube. But this is sort of like a different take because it has a dimensional flavor to it. And I never really found a tutorial for it anywhere. And I did look for it, believe me. But I never found one. I just saw pictures of it on Pinterest. And based on the pictures is how I went about creating this mini album, and I did it my way. So this is it. So let's get started real quick with the dimensions. It measures 6.5 inches by 4 inches when closed. I just put this little twine around it, but it's really meant to be put on display, this kind of album. So it's a little hard to video because it's dimensional. It sort of sits up on display on a shelf or a table or a desk. So I'm going to try to show it first by flipping it this way, and then I'm going to stand it up so you can actually see the star element and where it gets its name from. So this is what's going to hold it closed once I open it. So I'll get back to that in a few. So let's start flipping through this. So you can open it up like this, and right away you see the 3D element, which is this. This is where your photos can go, but you can also, of course, put photos here, and you can also put photos in here. So over here I have a pocket with some elements from the collection, and each one of these photo frames measure 5.5 by 3.5. So these are great for 3 by 4 inch photos or wallet size photos. And there are also 4 pockets in here. So each one of these is also a pocket that stores large tags, which can also be used for storing pictures or journaling or memorabilia, whatever you can put on there. So that's the first page. Second page, this one has a belly band with a tag. And here's your photo mat. And these are removable, these photo mats, and I'll get to that in a few. Here's your tag, your large tag in a pocket. For this page, I've took 3 by 4 cards from the Mr. collection, and I made flaps. So these actually open up, and this is on both sides. And I keep them down with this little cardstock sticker, which is also from the paper collection. So like that. And here's your photo mat. And here's your next page. Got some tags and a pocket in here. And I don't know if I showed the tag, but this one, here's the large tag for this one. And here's your last page. There are 5 pages in this album, which is what you need to make your star effect, which you're going to see in a few. So the way this really works is I like to kind of pull out the photo mats a little bit like this, because then when you open up the mini album, the photo mats display wider, so you get a better view. So this is what they're meant for. You just kind of tuck them out a little bit, like so. So then it looks like this. And then once you're like that, then you open it up. And you take the two open ends, and that's where your paper clip comes into play. And you put your little paper clip here, and that's what keeps it together. And there you go. And here's your star. Make sure I'm in focus here. your star album, because as you can see there, it forms a star shape from the top. You can see it. And that's what it looks like from the top. And the photo mats are dimensional because they sort of pop out. So you can kind of also call this a pop-up star album. But let's go with dimensional for this one. And then that's what they look like from the sides. So I sort of have to maneuver this way so you could see it, but that's what it would look like from the side view. See? So now these open a little wider when you tuck them out the way I did. So these kinds of albums look really nice on shelves and desks and tables, anywhere where you can put it on display. And obviously, if you don't want to put them on display, you can just close it and just keep it closed somewhere. So this is what we're gonna do. And then to close it, you just put it all together and you can kind of pop your photo mats in and close it. One last thing, like I said, these photo mats are removable. You just have to remove them very gently. So they're put on here with little slits. So once you kind of pop them out, see, they pop right out. And then you can add your pictures or whatever it is that you want to add here. And then you would just have to slide it back into these pieces. Just slide it right in and then fix them. And that's how that works. All right, so let's get started on the base. I'm just going to tell you how I went about making the base. The decorating part is really up to you. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the base. So you're going to need 5 pieces of cardstock measuring 6.5 by 11 inches. And you're going to score these in half, which would be at 5.5 inches. So again, you're going to need 5 pieces of cardstock measuring 6.5 inches by 11. And you're going to score these in half at 5.5 inches. So as you can see, I've already done that. And these are already scored. So we're done with those. For your photo mats, you're going to need 5 of those. And those are going to measure, where did I put my measurement? Here we go. They're going to measure 7 inches by 5.5 inches. And you're going to score them in half on the, is this the 7-inch side? Yes. On the 7-inch side, you're going to score it in half, which means you score at 3.5 inches. So again, you're going to need 5 pieces measuring 7 inches by 5.5 inches. And on the 7-inch side, you're going to score it in half, which would be at 3.5. And I don't know if I mentioned on this one, but you will score on the long side. So on the 11-inch side, you're going to score it in half at 5.5. All right. So that I've already done, as you can see. So they're all cut and they are all scored. So the next step is to cut out the inside of the base, because this is where your photo mat is going to be inserted. So I already did one, which is this one right here. That's what you're going to end up with. All right, you're going to end up with something like that. So the way you do this, or the way I do it, is take out your paper trimmer. And you need one of those trimmers that have rulers everywhere. You need a ruler on top, and you need this ruler going down the cutter itself. See right there? So you have measurements here, you have measurements up here. You need that for this one. Unless you're handy with the craft knife and a ruler, then you can do it that way. But I'm more better using the trimmer. So you're gonna take one of your cardstocks that's folded in half, okay, and you're gonna cut on the fold. All right, so this is where it's folded, and this is where you're gonna start cutting, and you're gonna cut this way. So on the 6.5-inch side on the fold, you're gonna put it in to your trimmer at 1 inch. Okay, so it's gonna be at 1 inch. and you're gonna cut 1.5 inches down. So at 1.5, I stop. And then you're gonna flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. So at the 1 inch, make sure it's nice and even, and then cut at up to 1.5 inches, which is right there. Okay? And then you're gonna end up with something like this. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna flip it on this side. So stinking math. 5.5. On the 5.5 inch side. And then from this slit to that slit, you're gonna cut all the way down, and this whole piece is gonna come out. So the way I do it is I figured out that this is 1.5 inches in, this measures 5.5. So this actually, the slit goes up to 4 inches. It goes up to the 4 inch mark. So the easiest way that I found to do it, instead of eyeballing it, is to just put it at 4 inches. So put your piece of paper at the 4 inch mark. Make sure you slide down an inch, because you remember you went an inch in. So make sure you start on the 1 inch mark. And then you start cutting the inside piece out. Same for the bottom. It's only about an inch or so. So you have to be careful there that you don't go past it, and that's it. And this middle part should just pop right out. There you go. Then when you open this up, you're gonna end up with that. All right. So I'm gonna do one more on camera. And then the rest I'll do off camera. Okay, and there you have it. So go on and do the same thing for all your pages. Okay, so once you're done with that, you need to do a little bit more scoring. So if you notice, there's a little pop-up element here in order for your photo mats to have some dimension. It goes like this, like a little accordion fold. So in order to get that effect, you have to do a little bit more scoring. So let me take out my small little scoreboard for this one. And this one I already did, but all you're gonna do is you're gonna place it on your scoreboard, folded, like so. And you cut in 1.5 inches. So at the 1.5 inch mark, you're just gonna score here and here. All right, so that's what I did with this one. So you're gonna score like that, and then you're gonna flip it over, and you're gonna do the same thing at 1.5 inches, right there and right there. So when you score them, then you can shape them. So this part comes out. It's a mountain valley fold, like that, and like that. And there you go. So you end up with that look. So valley, mountain, valley. I believe that's how it goes. Yeah, this is the mountain when it faces up. Or maybe some might think that's the mountain, but let's just call it the accordion fold. And just make sure it looks this way from the top. So you want the folded part facing you. You want it pointing towards you. How's that? To make it more clear. So you're going to do the same thing for all 5 pages. go. And let's start folding these the way that I need them to look. So like that. And of course, you can always burnish your score lines. And you're going to do the same thing for all of them. So you end up with the same thing. So let me get going on that, and I'll be right back. So at this point, we're ready to start putting our mini album together. So, which means adhering one page to the other. So you can do this one of two ways. Most of these story albums don't have pockets, these top pockets right here. At least I didn't see many with pockets like this. Most of the albums, they just adhere one base of the page to the other as such. And they glue that way all the way around, no pockets. I wanted to add pockets. The choice is yours. You don't have to have pockets. That part is optional. So, if you don't want pockets, all you have to do is you grab one page, grab the next page, put glue here, and adhere the second page to the first page. And then repeat the process for the next page. Glue here, take this page, adhere it, move on to the next page until you have all 5 pages glued together. If you do want pockets, then you have an option there too. I like full pockets, meaning that I want to be able to use the full width of my pocket for my tags. So in order to do that, guess what? You use hinges. That's what you use to adhere your pages together, and in turn it creates the pockets, and you get full pockets. So you can use the entire width of the pocket for your tags. If you don't care about that, then all you have to do is take your first page, and with wet glue, you go around in a U shape. All right, leave the top open because that's where your tag's gonna go in. So you go in a U shape, and then you adhere the next page. And then you repeat the same process until you adhere all your 5 pages. So, but since I want full pockets, I'm gonna use hinges. So if you wanna use hinges like mine, you're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 hinges. And each hinge measures 6.5 inches by 1 inch. So 8 hinges, each one measuring 6.5 inches high by 1 inch in width, and you're scoring them right down the middle in 1/2 inch, which I've already done. All right, so you score them. And let's do the first one. Score it in half. Let's put these aside for now. And for these, I use double-sided tape. So I have some double-sided tape that I put on each side of the hinge. And you do that on both. Okay. And the other thing I do like to do is I do like to taper a little bit the ends of my hinges so they don't show in my mini album. So from this corner, just cut a little diagonally to the other end and just taper the corners off like that. So you end up like that at an angle. Okay, do this one, this one, done. Okay, and the way I do this is take your first page, fold it, closed. So we're gonna say this is the top. Take your second page, get that ready. So adhere your hinges first. So this is the pocket that I'm gonna create. So I'm gonna do one hinge here, right? It's gonna go like that. And then the other hinge is gonna go like this, okay? Make sure that the open side of the hinge faces the inside of the pocket. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do now. Let me adhere these hinges. Okay, so once you have that ready, to close the bottom, I do not use a hinge. Here, I just use wet glue. I don't mind the bottom, and I just do a very fine point of wet glue here in the bottom. So then once I put this on the bottom, I'm gonna take my next page, fold it up, and I'm gonna place it right on top of the hinge and the bottom and adhere it together. And that's how you're gonna form all the base of your mini album. You're gonna glue all the pages the same way, except for the last page. Let me make sure I rephrase that. Do all of them, but you have to leave one side open. So you see that? You have them all except for one side. So you still have to leave it like a book. Okay, don't glue it all together because then you'll never be able to close it again. So just leave one side open. And that's the side that you'll just close together with a paper clip or whatever you want to use to keep it together when you open up the mini album. But when you're adhering the pages, you got to make sure you leave one side open. So you're only going to glue all the pages, but don't glue it the whole album closed. If that makes any sense. So let's do this real quick. Okay, and there you go. So you got your first two pages put together as such. That's what it's going to look like so far. And you have your pocket. And what I like to call a full pocket. Got the whole width of the pocket for your big tag. And then just make sure it's closed on the bottom with the wet glue. And you're done. Now you're going to do the same thing for the rest of the pages. All right, so I'm going to go off and do that now. And the other thing I'm going to say is always make sure that your pages are facing the same way. So that's why before I stood it up to make sure that both pages were facing the same way. And by that I mean this is my third page. Right, so I'm gonna have to adhere it this way. So you see how it's forming the star shape on the top? So make sure you don't do it like the opposite way or something like this by mistake, you know, you end up going backwards. So you got to make sure that your pages are facing in the same direction. So I'm gonna go adhere the rest of my pages and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, the base of your mini is pretty much formed right now. And here's your star. That's where this mini album gets its name from, because it forms like this little little star design from the top. So I've adhered all of my pages together, creating 4 pockets. The 5th pocket does not exist because this is the part where I told you before that you have to leave open. So the last 2 pages of your mini album you do not close, else you'll never be able to close it. You'll never be able to actually fold your mini album closed. It will always have to remain open as such. So just leave one side open. So you only create 4 pockets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. So you're pretty much done at this point. The only thing left are your photo mats. So the base of your mini is done. Here it is closed. And now for the last piece, all right, I'm only going to do one of these because I found it easier to put the designer paper first and then cut them, instead of making the cuts, putting the designer paper, and then having to go back and recut them. So I'm only going to do one, but all you have to do is, once you put your designer paper on the inside of the photo mat, because remember, these are going to display this way. The front is only going to display. The back really isn't going to be seen. So it's really up to you if you want to decorate it or not. I leave the backs blank as is, and I only put designer paper on the inside of the photo mats, which is where the pictures are going to go. So all you're going to do with these guys is you're going to take out your paper trimmer, and on the 3.5-inch side, making sure that the folded part is facing the left, you're going to make a cut again, 1 inch at 1 inch. But this time you're only going to cut 1/2 inch down, and you're going to do that on both sides. So 1/2 inch is right there. So you're only going to go up to 1/2 inch there, and then you're going to flip it around on the other side and do the same thing. So at 1 inch, and then cut to 1/2 inch, which is right there. And then you'll end up with something like that. You'll end up with 2 slits, one on the bottom and one on the top. And when you open it, you'll end up with something like that. I don't know if you could see that there. See that? On the top and the bottom. And those slits is what's going to hold your photo mats in place. So once you have that done, and they're all embellished, you put all your designer paper on and everything. Same for the base of the mini. Put all your designer paper on first. Here, you can decorate this part like I did in mine if you want. The choice again is yours, how you decorated it. See? The little hinge parts here, or the holders, the frame, the photo mat holders. You can decorate those as well, or you can leave them as is. So put all your designer paper on first, and then the very last step, once you have all the designer paper on, is when you're gonna slip your photo mats in place. And to do that, and I found the easiest way for me to do it is, also don't forget to be gentle on this, all right, because it is, after all, paper. So you're gonna open your mat, and I found it easier to slide the bottom in first. So you're going to slide 1 and 2 into the holders. So it looks like that. All right, so I already put the bottoms in, and once you put the bottoms in, you can slide in the top. So once the top's in, just very gently put your photo mat underneath and start sliding right into the slits like that. And there you go. And that will hold your photo mat in place. See that? So when you close it, it should stick out like that. That's actually perfectly fine. Now, for storing purposes, you can always just tuck them right in like that, so it's nothing sticks out on the side. But when you're ready to display it, see, because when you put it all the way in, it doesn't open up as much. So my recommendation is to just tuck it out a little bit when it's closed like that. So then when you open it up, it displays nice like that. Nice and open. All right. So you're going to repeat the same process for all your photo mats once it's all decorated. All right, so I am not going to come back to show the finished end product of this particular album that I'm putting together because I've run out of time. I have to get this tutorial up and going within a day, so I'm not going to have time to show the completed project, but I may come back after and just show an overview of the completed project. But at least now you have the tutorial on how to go about making the base of the mini album. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and have a good night.